maximum fear, maximum pain, and frustration as people are literally exiting crypto. They're leaving the industry. They stop believing in the technology just because prices are down for a couple months and there's no 5-figure airdrops. But you are not one of these because you're an avid Cedar subscriber. You're subscribed to the video. You always watch in full length and you understand the crypto mindset, the crypto mentality. And honestly, if you're around just for 3 to 5 years, then you will be fine. If you're around, double down in a bear market, the more people get scared and washed out, the more greedy you get about accumulating cryptocurrencies, then you should be fine. But of course, it's news like these that paired with this negative downtrend, with a lot of debating, infighting, celebrity rugs, meme coin rugs, a lot of this bearish sentiment paired with news like these, that after a decade, Mt. Gox is now saying that they will start selling or basically repaying BTC to affected customers from the Mt. Gox hack back in the days after a very, very long and tedious process. And I think people are getting around 1/8 or 1/9 of their BTC that they lost in the Mt. Gox hack, which now 10 years later is still in dollar terms over 140x worth than the dollar amount that was back then. Back then, Bitcoin was at around $450. Now it's at around 60,000. And this piece here is what got the market scared and what washed people out, because now everyone is thinking that we are doomed and that we are going to go down once these repayments start happening. And they're going to happen as soon as in the beginning of July of 2024. Now, people think that this is going to tank crypto, which is why crypto tanks. And as always, whether it's positive or negative, there's always a rumor or an initial announcement or initial piece, and then the actual occurrence of that event. And usually the rumor, especially if it's unexpected or as big as this one is, always has very, very high impact on the market immediately. What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say that I believe this is mostly priced in now. This is just an emotional overreaction to the news. I also believe that Mt. Gox is not going to repay those $9 billion immediately. I think they're going to repay that slowly. And probably also those people that were affected and are receiving those repayments are crazy rich with crypto anyways, so they already had their lives changed. In any case, I don't think that this is going to cause massive sell pressure. I could obviously be wrong. Don't ever believe one single source or one single opinion, right? This is just my thoughts, my opinion, sharing with you, and you can take with that whatever you want. Also, in that context, we have very negative news from the German government, the BKA, Bundeskriminalamt, that is selling Bitcoin aggressively. They already sold nearly $200 million worth of BTC, which they seized from the operators of Movie 2K back in January. It's also very impressive how fast they actually sold, because they only seized it in January and 5-6 months later, they already sold it. But they still have 3 billion in BTC laying around, which they're potentially going to sell. But yeah, that's another negative news that got people really, really scared. And this together paired with outflows after outflows on the Bitcoin spot ETF, we have another red day, massive red day, another 174.5 million US dollars in a single day net outflows on the Bitcoin spot ETF, while the Ethereum spot ETF is not live yet. We're still waiting on that. So no fresh capital coming in, a lot of big sell pressure on the market occurring already from the German government, but also potentially coming from Mt. Gox, at least anticipated sell pressure. And that is just right now causing this negative environment. We also see a lot of altcoins retracing massively after doing all-time highs, like Injective went to $50, is now at 24. TIA went to $20, is now at 7, and so on and so forth. Across the board, we see big negativity, negative sentiment, infighting, max fear, max pain, and frustration. But here's my opinion. My opinion is that right now is probably the best moment for making the biggest returns in the shortest amount of time. Why do I say shortest amount of time? I say that because we are now at the very, very tail of this bear market that we just came out in late October. But we are now at the tail of this phase before altcoins start running, before altcoins will have their first run. And I always say that life-changing money is not in Bitcoin, it's also most likely not in Ethereum. It's in altcoins, right? It's in mid and low cap altcoins and has been for the past couple of years. But now many altcoins are still hovering around all-time lows, or at least 70, 80% away from the all-time highs, right? Including coins like Solana, where people think like, oh, Solana is so overvalued, but Solana is still down 50, 60% from all-time high, right? Always keep that in mind. We haven't seen anything yet this cycle. And I still believe that we will also have a pump everything cycle where all altcoins are going to go parabolic. We still have that ahead of us. And after 3 harsh years, I think we are now very, very close to at least the first wave of alt season. We also have potential catalysts for that, one of them being the Ether ETF, which was already approved. Now we have the S1 filings that need to be approved as well, which is a formality, but only once they get approved, we can start trading. And FANAC is now filing for the 8A form, which is going to be the final step for that. And Eric Balchunas has now pointed out that this is a clue for a potential launch window of an Ethereum ETF. And I think they also said early July. So we're literally 1 or 2 weeks away from the Ether ETF to start trading. Remember that all big players have filed for that, including BlackRock, including Fidelity. And the Bitwise CIO is actually giving a forecast here that they will see $15 billion of inflows, net inflows within 18 months, within 1.5 years on the Ether ETF. And for an asset that is a fourth of the size or a third of the size of BTC, Bitcoin, I think this can have and will have massive, massive impact on the price trajectory of Ether, which will then also trickle down into altcoins. And this paired with the fact that the SEC just dropped their investigation in Ethereum makes it all primed. This is the perfect setup for altcoins to massively explode, right? And I also don't believe, like many other content creators and YouTubers say out there, that you have to really handpick very few altcoins that are going to make you rich. Everything else is going to zero. I think we're going to have a broader altcoin season. Obviously, not everything is going to pump, but I think we will have seasons within the cycle, right? We are going to have an NFT season. We're going to have a metaverse season, a tokenization season, a restaking season. We're going to have infrastructure seasons, but we also will have consumer application seasons. We'll also have an ongoing meme coin season. Obviously, there's also going to be narratives that will pump harder than others. But I also think, broadly speaking, you need to be diversified into altcoins. You need to be diversified into strong ecosystems with strong builders, with innovative technologies that have runway, that have been around for many years, at least one cycle at best, but also with the new players like the Celestias out there and all these kind of new coins that are there now. And I think you're going to do really well over the next 2 years. Anyways, looking at the prices, we see Bitcoin up at 62K today after falling below 59,000 the day before. And altcoins have not seen a big crash yesterday. It was mostly Bitcoin. It's also down on the week 4%, while altcoins are relatively stable, but they had their downfall the week before. So far, we're not really in a position where altcoins are outperforming Bitcoin. But honestly, I personally feel like we're very close to an alt season where altcoins are massively outperforming BTC and catching up to that balance, right? Because now Bitcoin is at all-time highs, whereas altcoins are still 80, 90% down from their highs, right? Even Solana, like I said, still down 47% from all-time high. We also have, for example, coins like Avalanche. Avalanche is still down 82.5% from all-time high. And if we scroll down to our beloved Atom, that is now ranked 36, $7 right now, but still down 84% from all-time highs, excluding staking rewards and airdrops. That is a coin that has spoiled us with big airdrops over the years, including Celestia, including Osmosis, including Dymension, Saga. The list goes on, very, very long list. So I think it's important to mention here, especially for Atom. But yeah, that's what it is. If we look specifically into the Cosmos ecosystem, we can see the top gainer on the day here is actually evmos, up 35%, but still very, very low, 3.5 cents, which is crazy. This thing was at like $4, $5, $6 when it launched. So evmos 35% up to date. Good to see like some sign of life. Fetch with the upcoming ASI merge up 12%, 161. Passage also a sign of life up 11%, 1.7 cents. And yeah, overall some nice recoveries here, but still those prices, in my view, very, very low, very, very cheap, very good entries for some of these coins that are literally primed to dominate entire niches, right? Like Fetch for AI, Passage for Metaverse, Sentinel for deep in privacy, Stargaze for NFTs, Humans also in the AI space, Akash for compute, Safe for parallel execution, Celestia modularity. Those are big, big narratives. And those coins, those projects are literally at the forefront of innovating and creating those categories, creating those niches. And in my view, it's just a matter of time when all these coins are going to pump, right? Regardless of even token unlocks, right? I also see a lot of people get scared about that. But in a bull run, everything pumps irrationally, right? Everything pumps as it dumps in a bear market irrationally. And all these coins were severely, severely undervalued. Remember Solana at $8. Remember Osmo at 20 cents. All these coins. Remember Akash at 25 cents, even less than that, 20 cents. All these coins in a bear market are severely undervalued, and in a bull run, severely overvalued, and nothing makes sense, right? Both ways are irrational price movements, which is what I said also in my previous video, is that fundamentals are usually never reflected on the chart in real time, right? It's either overvalued or undervalued. Now, speaking of which, one of these coins that I think is severely undervalued is, of course, Osmosis, the best DEX that took IBC to market on the Cosmos ecosystem and has been around now for over 3 years, just celebrated birthday together with me. We share our birthday, June 19th. And yeah, Osmosis has done a lot of progress. Is still the best DEX in Cosmos. And they also now have a burn mechanism where they already burned 1.8 million Osmo tokens that have been burned and removed from circulation, right? In the bear market, they also worked a lot on their tokenomics to basically boost and accelerate the lowering of inflation. Then we also have important proposals that just passed on Osmosis. One of them, the NBTC revenue share proposal. I already talked about it, how Osmosis is going to integrate Nomic BTC, and Osmosis is also going to deploy a feeless bridge, which basically means that BTC holders can deposit their BTC through Nomic on Osmosis without paying a fee. This has always been a big, big bottleneck. I think Nomic usually has a 20% fee, which obviously means no one is going to do that if you lose 20% of your BTC stack just to bridge it. But yeah, this is going to be feeless, but there's going to be a revenue share for NBTC volumes on Osmosis that goes to Osmo stakers. And also, so this is a big one. And the second big one is smart accounts, which is going to be very, very big for improving the Osmosis UX and making it one of the best chains out there and best DEXs and DeFi platforms in all crypto. And with all that in mind, also the tokenomics adjustments, we can see here the inflation is below 10% now, even though the staking APR is still lower than that. Why is that? Well, because part of the inflation is directed to Osmosis LPs. This has also been rebalanced a couple months ago, but yeah, the proto revenue and also the volume revenue share through MBTC hopefully can absorb that, so that staking APR goes above the inflation organically by actually having on-chain demand and revenue generated. But it's another topic. Maybe we can talk about that in a future video more in depth. But if you think about it, right, Osmo now at 55 cents, with all that in mind, adjusted tokenomics, been around for many years, had a almost full redistribution of the Osmo supply over the years. All the fundamental development, still around, still king of IBC. My question is, does it now have better or worse fundamentals and positioning than it had 2 years ago when it was at $10, $12, right? And the answer to that is obviously it's much stronger now. It's much better now. It's much more experienced now. It's still around. The community is still there. But you can get it 95% off. Maybe something to think about, something for you to do further due diligence on. But in my view, Osmo is one of the best plays right now. Another one is actually Celestia. And Celestia is, it feels like to me that they're realigning more and more with their roots, with where they came from. which is Cosmos, right? Celestia is a full-on Cosmos chain. Nick White, with whom I did multiple interviews. One of the most recent ones was like 6 weeks ago, in-person interview, where we talked about Cosmos culture, Celestine slots. Obviously now they're also aligned with Cosmos now on the NFT side of things. But they have now a proposal after activating on-chain governance here as well, that Celestia wants to pay for IBC middleware audits, which is a net benefit for the entire Cosmos ecosystem. You can read through that proposal here. And they basically want to request a total of 55,000 US dollars denominated in TIA for Zelig, which is an auditing firm. And this proposal also states that they want to give back to the Cosmos community from which Celestia was built from and from which Celestia exists in. So this is good to see realignment between Celestia and Cosmos. I also had a great interview recently with Charles, the CEO at the DYDX Foundation, and they're also very excited to connect, realign, and synergize more with Cosmos. They're very grateful for the Cosmos community and developer ecosystem. So Cosmos is far from dead. Cosmos is flourishing and more active than it's ever been. In that context, also, the data posted on Celestia, I also see a lot of miseducation and misinterpretation about what Celestia is and does. It's more on the B2B side of things, or chain to chain, if you will. And if you just look at charts like these, which is the data that was posted on Celestia, you can see explosive growth and adoption here in the recent weeks and months. And I think Celestia is really primed to be one of the stars this bull cycle, right? I think personally, that's TIA can easily go to $100. I think it's a $100 billion protocol this cycle, which does not mean that I think this is the fair value. But considering that crypto is just, like I said earlier, overpricing things in a bull and underpricing things in a bear, I think that Celestia, given it's brand new, it's so innovative, it has a huge ecosystem of builders, applications, integrations, and a strong core team, right? With Mustafa, Ismail, Nick White, the whole team, Yas, that are also doing God's work on the marketing, validator relations, and also event side of things, which we can see. This is the lineup for Modular Summit 3.0, the third conference that they're hosting this year around ECC in Brussels. And the lineup here is absolutely nuts, right? Obviously, you have Mustafa, then you have Laura Shin from Unchained, you have Anatoly, Solana co-founder, Stani from Aave, Sandeep is going to be there, Monad co-founder, Eric Wall, who is also, I think, an investor or contributor to Celestia. Ansem is going to be there. Merge is going to be there. And this is just page one. They have page two here. People from OP Lab. Zaki is going to be there. They have their Noma co-founder, Chris Goes. Obviously, Ethan is going to be there as well. Cosmos co-founder, Eigenlabs people. This lineup is absolutely crazy. So congratulations there, first of all, on the event. But secondly, if you know that this is basically friends and family of Celestia, right? This is their conference, their event, then you should get really, really bullish on the project and the ecosystem, right? Rushi also here, great to see, Movement Labs. So yeah, very bullish on that, very excited. Unfortunately, can't be there this year, but hopefully I'm going to be there next year. But I think once the bullishness comes back, the bullish sentiment, TIA is going to fly, and then you will probably wish you considered TIA at those levels. Staking APR also still at around 11%. You can delegate also to Stakecito, which you can also, by the way, do on Osmo, Atom, and many others. But yeah, I think Osmo and TIA currently, considering that we are in this pre-bull year, and I think later this year and next year we're going to have a massive bull season, I think this is severely undervalued right now. Then we also have some news around the Cosmos Hub. I talked about it, how Interchain Security 2 has launched and is now on the mainnet on the Cosmos Hub. And Illis Network is going to be the first that have submitted their signaling proposal to join ICS v2, which means there's now a three-part process. Number one, the signaling proposal, which is on the forum right now. And if you have feedback or anything to share there, please do that on the forum before we go into phase 2, which is the actual on-chain proposal that is going to take 2 weeks on-chain for the community to vote on whether they want to add Illis as the third consumer chain and the first PSS secure chain, which means basically a subset of Cosmos Hub validators can secure Illis with Stakecito. We will be one of them. With 60, we're also investors into Aleph. And remember that they raised $2.5 million in their seed round in this market environment, which is, yeah, good. And I think this is also a project that is severely overlooked in the Cosmos ecosystem and community. So if this passes, then we'll see the spawn time, similarly like we saw it also with Neutron, because it's a brand new chain that is going to market, not an existing one like with Stride, for example, that just migrated. So in this point in time, we'll see the launch of the Aleph network as an ICS V2 chain. And I think from there on, we're going to see faster adoption. We have many chains lined up like Aether, Landslide. We'll also probably see existing chains migrating, right? I mentioned already Region Network. I think Comdex is also exploring that. Secret Network exploring that. I personally think Kava and Noble should both also do that, because native USDT and USDC both make a lot of sense, in my view, to be Atom secured, and for Atom to really strengthen its role as the interchain hub, basically. Then we also have some teasing here from Josh Lee, the CEO at Kepler Wallet, cooking ETH alignment, basically integrating Ethereum into Kepler Wallet, which I think could really boost more adoption here. So yeah, that's good to see here as well. Then we also have some news from Skip Protocol that are now supporting persistence DEX, formerly known as Dexter, on the Skip API, which means you can now route trades on ibc.fun also through persistence DEX. ibc.fun, if you're unfamiliar, is the best DEX, or basically the best swap page if you want to swap Cosmos assets without having to go back and forth manually through IBC between all those chains, right? So let's say you have Atom on the Cosmos Hub network and you want to swap them for akash, AKT on the akash network. You can do that here with one trade with one click. So I strongly recommend you to play around with ibc.fun. And lastly, we also have some quick news and another teaser here from Penumbra that is communicating here with Stargaze, maybe for private NFTs. That would be nice to see a collaboration here between Penumbra and Stargaze. And also we saw AKT that is now available to New York residents on Coinbase. We all know that crypto regulation is really tough in the US, which is why it's even nicer to see that AKT, amongst other coins, has been added and is now available to New York residents. Anyways, that's all for today. I think my content in this week has been more on the side to really remind you to not give up, right? To really remind you to not listen to the attention-seeking, controversial takes about why this cycle is different, why crypto is doomed, why we're entering now a multi-month bear market. I personally feel that the bottom is in, we have seen the worst, and actually the only way from where you can go up only is from the exact bottom. So I feel like we're there, especially for altcoins, but obviously there could always be a black swan. There's also this macro meta around a potential World War III, a war and escalation of the situation in Russia and Ukraine. So yeah, that is obviously also still something to keep an eye on. And that could obviously be a huge black swan event like we had in 2020 March with COVID, which caused a 40% market crash literally overnight. But then that also marked the bottom. So, but again, I'm bullish. I'm obviously always bullish in crypto. And if I wasn't bullish in crypto, then it would be very hypocritical what I'm doing, because I made crypto my career decision 6 years ago. And I'm honestly very excited about the next 6 years and the next decades after that, because this is not going anywhere, right? We're going to go up only when it comes to fundamentals, when it comes to developer onboarding, user onboarding, and all those kind of things. Anyways, that's all for today. I'm going to see you very soon. Until then, stay safe and be good.